right now, if I can, on where you want to be in the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years. Because we need to consider where we're going, who we want to take with us, who we want to become, what kind of life that we want to live, who we want to have with us, who we want to impact and influence, and what difference we want to make in this world. But we need to consider time. It's really important we understand time. And I want you to think about this. You know, the average person lives to be 78 years old. That's 938 months. That's 28,560 days. 685,440 hours. 411,126,400 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, we truly need to make every second count. Because the one thing we can't buy, the one thing we can never get back, the one thing that they don't make any more of, and that is time. And when we think about time, we think about where we are in our lives right now. We think about how many of those 411 million minutes that we've already used. We maybe need to want to think about how many more we've got left. And when we think about that, we have to begin to consider however many weeks, days, months, years we've got left, what's it going to look like? How am I going to live my life? And even now, in Forever, as I travel around the world, coaching and mentoring and training people, the one thing I notice time and time and time again, they still don't learn and internalize and implement an action goal setting. They still don't design their lives in a way that becomes truly meaningful. So I want to share with you, if I can today, a little bit on how I believe, as Paul said, you can leave this auditorium today, you can spend some time on designing your future, and you can make the rest of your life a masterpiece. That's my wish for you, and I want to share with you some of the things that I do and have done that has allowed me to build the business, live the life, be the person, contribute to those who don't have maybe what I have. You see, when we think about goal setting, you hold the key. You hold the key to your success. It's not anybody else's responsibility, it's down to you. And a lot of people focus on what they don't want rather than on what they do want. And the mind is a very, very, very capable organ. The brain is very capable. And interestingly, for those people that focus on what they don't want, it normally comes to be. I don't want to be broke, and normally they are. I don't want this, and normally it happens. So don't focus on what you don't want. You need to focus on what you do want. Even if at this moment in time you don't believe it, you need to think about it, internalize it. You need to have it going on in here all the time. Because unless you can internalize your goals, unless when you focus on something it makes you so happy, so excited, what will happen is the minutes, the days, the weeks, the months will pass you by, and one day you'll wake up and you'll say, if only I could have, what if? And personally, I don't ever want to be the kind of person that wakes up and says, what if only I could have. I want to be in control of my future. And that's what I wish for each and every one of you. So I hope that right now your mindset is, as mine was when I first started in Forever, I never joined forever to give it a go. I joined forever to be successful. You know, and Paul mentioned just a minute ago, some people talk about the negativity, some people talk about all the things that aren't happening, aren't going right for them, and the reality is it never will be for them because that's all they focus on. But if all you focus on are the good things and the difference you want to make and the life you want to lead and the things you want to do for your family and your loved ones and your kids and your grandkids, guess what? The universe rearranges itself and people and opportunity come into your space and make those things possible. But only if your mindset is, I joined to be successful. I didn't join to give it a go, to see if it would work. It's all about what goes on in your mind. So with that in mind, you need to have a real deep down burning desire. And your desire for your goal, your why, must be intense. It must be so intense that when you think about it, it can move you. It can move you in a way that nothing else moves you. In fact, the very thought of not achieving it gives you more cause for concern than for achieving it. You have to have that emotional connection to your goal. And then you need to put 100% action behind the goal. There's no point having a desire for something, but then not taking any action. One of my main goals when I first joined Forever was to give my children private education. And every day I would feed that goal, because taking my boys from where I lived to the school that they had to go to, I drove past one of the private schools. And every morning I would see all the other mums and dads dropping off their kids. I would see the kids in their uniforms all looking very smart, lots of smiling, happy faces. And I would say to myself, one day, that would be me. So once you've got a connection with something that's really important to you, don't let it faze you. Don't be fearful of it. Even if it's a goal that's so big, it actually almost scares you. Remember, the first step to success is having a desire. It's having the desire. Even if it's something that's going to stretch you, get you out of your comfort zone. And what you need to do is you need to put it down onto paper. The first part of goal setting is to commit the goal to paper. And I remember very clearly in the early days when I was asked to write down a goal, I fought that process. I said to my sponsor, I don't need to do that. I know what I want. It's all in my head. But the thing is, it's really interesting. Something happens quite magical when you take it out of your head and you write it down. Suddenly it becomes more real. Suddenly it becomes more important. Suddenly you've taken ownership of it. And I remember quite clearly that I booked a meeting to go and meet the headmaster of the school I wanted my children to go to. And when I walked into that school and I met the headmaster and I saw what the kids were experiencing and the education they were getting in that school, I took the prospectus home, and that feeling fueled my desire. Looking at the pictures of the school fueled my desire. And when my desire was fueled, guess what? My activity levels went through the ceiling. I didn't ever make excuses. I didn't ever worry about the things that didn't happen. All I was focused on was what needed to happen in order to get the kids into the school. Also, once you commit your goal to paper and you have a written image and a visual image, it makes the mind razor sharp focused. I get up in the morning and I would feed my mind with that visual stimulation. I would go to bed at night and I would look at the prospectus and read it again and again and again. Not because I didn't know what they could get there, because I wanted to fuel my desire. Are you that connected to your goal? Or is your goal a throwaway statement? well, I'd quite like to have that. It can't be like that. It's got to be deep down, burning in the gut, wrenching at you, fills your eyes with tears when you think about it. So it must be intense. It must be clear and specific. And more importantly, you need to have the commitment to achieving it. Now, you need to believe that your goal is achievable. And for me, that was a tough one in the early days. And I'm going to be really honest with you here. You know, I had this goal, I had this dream. I wanted to get the boys into private school. I also wanted to earn more in a month than my ex-husband earned in a year to, you know, kind of a personal goal. But, you know, it was there. I was driven by it. But when I went through my really, really tough divorce, I'd had a marriage where I'd had 10 years of mental cruelty. And when you're told day in and day out that you're useless, you're worthless, you'll never amount to anything, days and weeks of silence and just bad-tempered and grumpiness, you begin to think that you are that person. So I remember as if it were yesterday coming into Forever, and everybody was positive. Everybody was just like anything was possible. And being around people like that, initially on day one, was a little bit daunting, because I'd come from 10 years of being told that I was actually useless. But you see, when other people start believing in you, it gives you a little bit of seed of greatness is planted within you. And Paul mentioned Dusty Green. Dusty was our MD then. And I remember Dusty Green used to literally empower me like nobody else has ever done. I'd ring him up and I'd say, hey, Dusty, you know, I've just made supervisor. And literally he would run around the office whooping. And it was like, wow. And then I remember when I made manager, I went manager in 14 weeks, he literally was howling down the phone with excitement. Now, imagine what that does to your belief, to the goal that you want to achieve when you know somebody else believes in you. So I want to give you a bit of advice here. You wouldn't be here if someone didn't believe in you. Every one of you has been invited to join Forever, to come to this event, to be part of this incredible family, because they believed that you had something special within you. What you need to do is you need to start believing it. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. It doesn't matter what you didn't do all those years ago. It's what you want to do from today going forward. Everything that we do in life is about choice. We can choose to do it, or we can choose to leave it. It's all about choice. And more often than not, the tipping point comes in achieving our goals when we're prepared to go the extra mile. And we've all been in that position. You know, Paul talked about it with Victoria and his team all having great success on the phone. And he was having a tough day. Now, he had a choice. He could have walked away and said, well, bully for you, you've all had great days, I've had a crap day. And he could have gone off and allowed that negativity to fill him, whereby it sowed a seed of doubt. Or he could say, you know what? I'm not beaten, I'm not down, I'm going to pick up the phone, and I'm not going to put the phone down until I get someone say yes to me. I had a bit of a situation like this the other night. In fact, I did a little Facebook Live on it. I had one of those days, one of those evenings where I made so many phone calls, and a bit like Paul, every single person I spoke to either laughed at me, told me I was crazy, told me that network marketing is done, it's finished, or everyone gave me their opinion. And there was this one woman in particular who I was really convinced was ready to join. She'd had a one-to-one. You know, we'd had some great conversations. And even when I called her up, she decided that it really wasn't for her. Now, in that moment when you're in your own office at home and you're all by yourself and there's no one to G you up and you're sitting in there, it's sort of 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, it would be easy to turn off the computer, chuck the phone down, walk out and say, you know what, they're right. What am I doing? And that is what the average FBO would do. But a bit like Paul, I wasn't going to leave my office on a negative. So I picked up the phone, and I picked up the phone, and I picked up the phone, and finally I got through to the girl that said, Jayne, I wish that you and I had met 5 years ago. And I said, yes, but you met me today, and let's think about the next 5 years rather than the last 5 years. Now, I always have a little bit of a thing, because I then went on and did a live in my Facebook group, and I explained that I'd had this tough night, and it was fascinating how many people resonated with my story. But Jayne, you're a diamond manager. Don't they know who you are? And I say, no, they don't know who I am. I'm just a person who they've got no idea who I am. I'm giving them a quick call. They've either been a referral or they've responded to some marketing, or I'm calling them out of the blue. No, they don't know who I am. Yeah, but don't they know who they're saying no to? No, they don't. And I have tough days and tough sessions and tough periods just like everybody else. But you know something? My goals, my dreams, my life, it's there. I know what I'm working for. I know what I'm prepared to do in order to achieve the goal. And the point I'm trying to make here is, do you really, truly have that deep connection and believe that your goal is achievable? And if you base your goal on all the things that you can't do, didn't do, won't do, or hasn't worked for you, then you need to have a little bit of a checkup in the mind. Because every single goal is possible if you'll just take consistent, regular activity. You need to have some mantras in your life, and those mantras need to be in the present tense, not one day I will be a manager. You need to say to yourself, I am a manager. I am a manager. By the end of the year, I will have achieved chairman's bonus. I am a chairman's bonus achiever. I am an eagle. You need to feed yourself with positivity at all times. When you look at my workspace, my desk, positive mantras all around me. There is nothing negative around me, because I won't allow that into my mind. Even when it's a tough day, a tough week, a tough month, a tough year, I never get down. All I say is, what can I learn from this? What can I learn from this? So you need to write those goals down and have no limitations on where you want to take yourself. Because a goal that's not written down, is not specific, means that clearly you're not going to achieve it. So you need to write the goal down, and then what you need to do is you need to break it down into chunks of activity. And once you've written the goal down, you then need to determine what the starting point is. So look at where you are today, right now, in relation to the goals that you want to achieve in the next 1 to 3 years. In the next 1 to 3 years, because many speakers have been up here today, and there's been a common thread that I've picked up on through each and every one of their presentations. Whether they've been talking about product, business, whether they've been achieving a position on the marketing plan, all of them have spoken about the fact that they're ready now for next year. In other words, they know what their strategy is, they know what they're working towards, they're going to be filling their pipelines, they're going to be talking to a lot of people now who will be ready to say yes to the opportunity, or yes, I want more information in the new year. So the starting point is right now, today. Now, for those of you in the room that are brand new, happy days. Because you have found this incredible company, this incredible marketing model, this incredible range of products, and you can literally immerse yourself in the process, learn the key skills that you need to learn to change your life. But there are equally some people in the room that maybe be a bit frustrated right now. You know, I didn't really finish the year the way I wanted to. I haven't achieved all the goals that I set out to achieve. And if you are one of those people, I want to encourage you to do something right now. And that is, you also need to draw a line in the sand and say, it's the first of the month. Let's go forward with a different mindset, a different vision, a different level of activity, and do what I need to do in order to achieve my goals going forward, and not worry about what I didn't achieve, but correct myself going forward on some of the things that need to be done. In other words, did you not achieve a goal because you simply didn't do enough? And my experience over the years is that's normally the common cause for not achieving a goal. You just simply didn't do enough on a consistent basis. It could be that maybe you haven't learned all the skills that you need to learn right now in order to move forward, in which case apply an element of honesty to yourself. Well, I'm brilliant at recruiting. I was just speaking to a lovely couple from Holland, and we were just having a little bit of a coaching session outside, and they said to me, we've just achieved chairman's bonus. They did it yesterday, and I was so thrilled for them. And they were just asking me a few quick questions about where they should be focused going forward. And I said, well, what are your strengths? And they said, well, we're great at recruiting. And I said, brilliant, so you've got several people in place so you can have chairman's bonus +1, +2, +3 next year? And they went, no, not really, not yet. So what they've got to focus on is they've got to learn the art of duplication. So I gave them a few quick tips and a few quick insights into what I would do. And knowing the couple, I know they'll go and implement it. And next time I see them, they'll have that bit cracked. So the point I'm making here is, going forward, you've got to have embraced change. And that means if you haven't achieved what you set out to achieve this year, in the last few months, ask yourself, am I doing something wrong? And interestingly, a 5% difference, change in what you're doing, can make 100% difference in your results. And it can be as simple as being more effective in a planning meeting. It can be as simple as learning how to work with a new FBO with their who do you know list. It can be as simple as learning how to make a killer phone call. It can be as simple as learning how to send a brilliant message to guarantee engagement with a prospect. So it's about just taking the time to identify what could be holding you back, line in the sand, and then from this day on, off you go again. Because you have those opportunities ahead of you. I want you to think about this. The best days of your life, you haven't yet experienced. The best days of your life are yet to come. They lie ahead of you. The happiest moments are still yet to come. The highest income you will ever earn is going to become a reality in the next months and years ahead. That I will guarantee if you work your forever business with passion, with consistency, and with a deep down desire to achieve what's important to you. And I'll promise you this, your future is going to be bigger, brighter than anything that has happened in the past, if you will embrace all you need to embrace in order to be successful. Because there are no limits to where you can take yourself. The only limits that you have are the limits you impose upon yourself, and the people that you allow to influence you that have no right to be in your headspace. Think about that one. So, you need to create your ideal future. And you need to set the deadlines. And my advice to each and every one of you is you look at your goals for 2019 based on this time next year. We're sitting now in the auditorium at a success day, and it's December 2019. Think for a moment what your life looks like, what your business looks like. Think for a moment about that. So put yourself in the moment. You know, the power of visualization is just unbelievable. And then what you do is you work backwards. And this is really important. So if you want to be a senior manager by next year, this time next year, then you need to be a manager first, and then you need to have developed 2 managers. So you take the goal and you break it back. So actually, you probably like to break your first manager around about May, June time, and your second manager around about September, October, November time. So that's part of the plan. That's part of the plan. Then what you do is you set your deadlines. So in order to develop my first manager in May or June, how many people do I need to speak to on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to give me enough time in the first quarter of the year to find at least 5 good people to go to work with, knowing that one of them will go on and be a manager? Now, when you think about it like that, then what you do is you start thinking about what activity you've got to do in January. But that will be dependent on what you do in December. You see, for a lot of people, in December, they switch off and say it's Christmas. No one wants to join the business. Nobody wants to buy, they'll buy the product. Nobody wants to do a one-to-one. Nobody wants to go to a BP. You know what? That's bull. It's total bull. Because I'll tell you something right now. There will be a lot of people that don't want to join you in December, but they'll have a conversation with you in December. They'll take a phone call. They maybe even jump onto a presentation online. They might take some information. And if you're on the ball, you will set a date in the diary right now to speak to them the minute the new year kicks in. And for those of you that want success next year, you should have your activity tracker, which is in your first steps to manager. You should have at least 2 or 3 or 4 pages full of people that say no in December, but yes in January. Because if you want to be a senior manager by the end of next year, then what you do right now will determine that happening. So in other words, who are you going to speak to? What kind of information are you getting out? What kind of conversations do you need to have? And if you don't know, then you have an upline. You have an upline manager that can sit down with you or have a Skype call and say, this is what you need to do. So again, we have choices, but we have to take responsibility. And I can promise you, in my 25 years in Forever, I have never, ever expected anybody else to do anything for me. I've taken complete responsibility for my own actions. That does not mean to say I don't want to brainstorm ideas. It doesn't mean to say that I would love to share an idea and to get some input on something, but ultimately, I've always said to me, if it is to be, it's up to me. This is my life, my future. So, you need to set your deadlines because you can't hit a target that you can't see. And you heard Peter Boots talk earlier about contacting 3 people a day. I've got a bit of a rider to that. You contact 3 people every single day and let go of the outcome. Because the results will come if you're taking the action. And, when Helen stood up here earlier, she was absolutely right. She contacted 300 people after I gave her a massive kick in the backside. And I knew after getting rejected a lot of times, 300 people who say no or no, not now, that's tough. But here's one thing I know with all my heart, because I'm a professional networker, that 301, 305, 310, 320, it's the people after the 300 where suddenly she's going to get the results. And you know why? Because suddenly after 300 contacts, she knows what to say. She knows every question that's going to be thrown at her. She knows how to handle all the rejection. So she's got her stripes. Do you see where I'm coming from? But if you only make 1 phone call a day, you're never going to get good at this. You've got to set those targets, put your deadlines in, and then you've got to measure it. You see, when I spoke to her at the end of that month where she said, 300 people, Jayne, and nobody's joined, I said, but they will. Well, how do you know? Because I know, because statistics never let you down. And boom, was I right? I was right. And I can guarantee that for everybody in this room, some of you won't even have to make that many calls. But unless we have got our goal, we've broken it down into quarterly sections, then monthly, then weekly, then daily, we've got nothing to measure your progress by. Now you need to identify any possible obstacles that are in your way that could stop you from being successful. And you know, there will be things that are blocking you, there will be things that are holding you back. And I've learned in my years of being in Forever that the two things that stop people achieving their potential are fear and doubt. You know, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of ridicule, fear of other people's opinions, fear of lack of knowledge, fear of success. It can really stop people progressing, and sometimes it's happening without them even knowing it. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Very often what we fear is not our reality. And doubt. You know, doubt can overwhelm us if we're not careful. And I loved Paul's analogy on this. The only time you will ever have doubt is when you are with people that give you negative input all the time. It's hard to stay positive when you're around negativity the entire time. And this is why the meetings, the BPs, the success days, the trainings, your home sizzles, your online input from your wider team, this is why you need to plug in. And I always say, plug into the system. Do not unplug. Because once you unplug, then you become insular. And it's hard to build a business in isolation. It's much easier to build a business when you belong to a community. You know, sometimes we can set incredible goals, but very often we can be so busy comparing ourselves to other people that we doubt ourselves because we don't think we're as good as them. How many people in this room have ever done that? Compared yourself to others? Right, I'm going to give you some incredible information now that will help you get over that. You ready? Write it down. It's going to change your lives. Ready? Stop it. This is your journey. This is nobody else's journey. It doesn't matter if somebody's gone double diamond jubilee clip in 5 minutes and you're still not a supervisor. It does not matter. You know, I recruited 2 young ladies a couple of years ago at the same time. Both of them were young mums. Both of them came from very, very senior careers and were finding it hard to juggle their being a parent, being within their businesses, and they wanted a different direction. And I found them, they found me. One of them took 6 months to become a manager, and one took 18 months. Which one was the better one? Neither of them, because both of them had their journey. They equally achieved their goals, they were equally able to give up their jobs, and they were able to focus on building a future with Forever. So this is your journey. And the only time you will ever doubt your ability is when you compare yourself to others, when you think, I'm not good enough, I can't do what they do, I'm not worthy. Maybe you've been fed a whole load of rubbish sometime in the past whereby you believe that you're not worthy, you believe you're not good enough. I'm here to tell each and every one of you has the potential to be unbelievably successful. You just need to decide to decide. I've seen some amazing leaders who could have gone on to be giants in the industry, but they're paralyzed by fear and doubt. You know, and that's easy. because sometimes new FBOs join forever. They come up on the stage, they share their story. They've done something in such a short period of time, and you go, oh my God, I could never be like them. And then you doubt yourself. The reality is, no, you won't be like them. But what can you learn from them? And how can you implement that to move forward, taking responsibility for your journey? So identify the knowledge and skills that you need. You know, one of the things that I learned in the early days was how to be my own best critique. In other words, I'm big enough to look in the mirror and say to myself, Jayne, that was a terrible one-to-one. Jayne, that was a terrible phone call. Jayne, you could have done a better sizzle. Jayne, you could have done a better planning meeting. And I'm big enough to say, how could have I improved? And the next time I improve, and the next time I improve, and the next time I improve, and before you know it, I can do it. You know, you can get lucky or you can get rich. And some people think that network marketing is about stumbling on a few good people and you're set for life. Well, it's not how it works. You may get lucky once, but you'll never get lucky for the rest of your life. And our industry, our profession, because I'm proud to be a professional network marketer, needs to be treated like a profession. You need to give it the same due diligence. You need to give it the same respect. You need to learn what you need to learn as if you were running any business, you were in any high-powered job. But that's the way you think about it. If you're in it just to give it a go, you'll never learn what you need to learn. So to achieve something you've never had before, you have to do some things that you've never done before. You'll have to become somebody that's different from the person you are today. And you have to go beyond where you are today. And you have to acquire the skills and the knowledge to enable you to live the life that's important to you. So what key skill do you need to learn right now? You know, think about where you are on your journey. If you're brand new, there's only about 8 things you will ever need to learn. But you need to learn them. And then you need to do them again and again and again and again and again and again and again until they become second nature. If you're already on your journey, take a moment tomorrow maybe to list down on a scale of 1 to 10 what you're good at. You know, on a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at writing your who do you know list? Do you exclude people because you're prejudging, or have you done your who do you know list in its entirety? Because what you don't do, you will teach. And if you are missing things out because you can't be bothered or you don't know how to do them, then you'll coach exactly that to your team, and you will have a team of non-achievers rather than a team of high achievers. You have to set the benchmark. You have to set the standard. All of us, I believe, are one skill away from doubling our income. What did Helen say earlier? In the last 2 months, she's given herself a £600 pay rise. £600 pay rise in 2 months. And I know that's come as a result of her having an element of honesty and saying, you know what, Jayne, I'm pretty rubbish at this prospecting thing, but I'll do exactly what you told me to do. And she did, and she got rejected 300 times. And then guess what? She recruited, and she recruited, and she recruited, and suddenly, boom, her business is growing. You see, once you've learnt the skill, you can't unlearn it. So learn what you need to learn, and be humble, be open, be honest. I was terrible at prospecting in the early days, but I knew with all my heart that if I could master it, I could live a free life. So I went to work. Was it easy? No. Was it worth it? Yeah. Would I do it all over again? Of course I would. But I won't do it for you. And you should never do it for anybody else. You should do it for you and then share your experiences. You also need to identify the people that are going to support you. And when you've written your goals and you've broken it down and you have a plan for next year, and it's a proper plan, and you're committed to it, get in touch with your upline and say, look, I want to run it by you. I want to know if I've got anything wrong or I've missed something out, or you can put something in with it. Brainstorm the plan and then go to work. But you need to be around people who believe in you and who are going to support you, empower you, nurture you, love you, recognize you, occasionally give you a kick in the backside and say, sort yourself out. Because sometimes we need a bit of tough love. Sometimes we need someone to say, that's not how we do it. I believe in you. You could be amazing, but we don't do it like that. We do it like this. Because sometimes we can fall into bad habits. And then you need to make a plan and you need to pull it all together. Once you've got your plan out, written down, you've got your goal, you've identified what you're prepared to work for, because we want to work towards our goals. We're not hoping we're going to achieve them, we are planning to achieve them. So just to recap, list all the tasks and activities you need to focus on, and this is really easy. Speak to people every single day. Every day. Every single day. Build a pipeline, an activity tracker of people that are current and who are either booked in for a one-to-one, having a video, coming to a BP, ready to recruit. And if you haven't got 20 to 30 people in your pipeline, then you're not networking. So here's an honesty reality check. Have you got 20 to 30 people on your pipeline tracker? And if not, there's your priority between now and the end of the year to guarantee you a brilliant start in 2019. How many calls do you need to make a day? How many coaching calls and meetings do you need? How many planning meetings are you going to do a month, a week? How many BPs, Skype calls and webinar calls? I've just recruited a really, really good guy in South Africa, amazing young man. And I had a long chat with him on the phone. I found out a lot about him, and I said, give me 24 hours to put together your manager plan for you. Then I'm going to have another call with you. I'm going to talk you through it. Then I'm going to give you 24 hours to devour it. Then we're going to come back and we're going to make sure it's on point and you're committed to it. And I told him exactly what he needed to do. I explained why on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. We talked through every element of his recruiting, his retailing, his recruiting, his high and his pride, his daily activity, the BP he's got to learn and run in his home. I told him to go away and sleep on it. I said, right, Carl, we'll have a call. It was just this week gone. We went through everything again, and he's committed to it, and he's up and running. Now, he will go manager in the next 5 months. That's the plan, 5 months. Why? Because we have the plan, we've broken it back, we've looked at daily activity, we've looked at weekly activity, we've looked at my expectations, he's agreed with them. Now, I've got something to work with to coach him. Not, well, I'll give it a go and see how it goes. Because when I ring him, I'm just going to say, how's it going? But if I've got a plan to work towards, we've pulled it all together, I can say, right, how many people have you spoken to today? What's been the result? Well, every one of them said no. Okay, tell me about those phone calls. Right, next time say this, next time say that. Okay, off you go, do it tomorrow. How many people are coming to the BP on Wednesday? It's so easy to work with someone who's got a plan. And you need to visualize your goals consistently. For me, visualization is so important. There are two people in this world who I have huge respect for in the way they've been able to visualize an end goal before it's even been achieved. The first one was Walt Disney. I don't know if any of you ever watched the Walt Disney story. But when he passed away, they interviewed his wife, And they said to his wife, I wonder if Walt ever realized exactly what his vision would be like today. And she turned around to the reporter and said to the reporter, young man, he saw all of this happening when he was just 19 years old. He saw it in his mind long before it ever happened. And the other person who's done this is Rex. When you sit with Rex, and I've had the privilege on many an occasion to sit and talk with him, to chat with him, to ask him about his vision, his expectations, his work ethic, his values, his philosophies. I remember once saying to him, Rex, did you ever imagine? And he stopped me before I'd even finished, and he said, Jayne, I saw all of this 40 years ago. What do you see for the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? What's your vision? My visualization of what I want to achieve is so bright that even now I can see it with my eyes open. I can be looking into the audience and seeing your face, but I can see with absolute clarity what I want to achieve. And it took a little while to get that into my head. I used to have to sit and close my eyes and bring up these images. And that's how you start visualization. You sit quietly, turn off the phone, turn off the noise. Be comfortable and sit quietly and run the movie of your life in your mind. Don't be scared. Don't limit yourself. Run the movie. Run that movie. And run it every morning when you get up, and run it every night before you go to bed. It only takes a few minutes to run your movie of your life right before your very eyes. And if you're having a tough day, or a tough week, or a tough month, if you've been challenged, close your eyes and run the movie. But also understand this: we do our greatest learning in the tough times. We become better and stronger in the tough periods. We learn more about ourselves and more about what we need to do in the periods that challenge us, not the easy times. Anybody can build a business in the easy times. But you need to be able to run your movie, see it, feel it, smell it, touch it. It needs to fill you full of joy. And when you open your eyes, you stand up tall and you say, ain't nobody gonna stop me. I had a mantra in the early days when I got rejected and laughed at, put down, people talking behind my back, all of that crap happened. And I remember having to toughen up because there was a moment in my life where I began to lose sight of what was important to me based on what other people felt. And I developed a mantra that helped me. And when somebody gave me a hard time or was horrible or didn't believe in me, in my mind I would say, lead me or follow me or get out of the way. Lead me. If you're better than I am, lead me, because I will learn from you. I am always the student. If you believe in me, follow me, I'll take you to where you want to go. But if you're neither, stand aside, because nobody is going to steal my dream. And that's how you have to be. Ain't nobody going to steal your dream, because the clock is ticking. So finally, never, ever, ever, ever give up on your goals. Make a commitment to yourself that you will never give up. Make a decision right now, long before you face any obstacle and challenges, that no matter what happens, no matter what is thrown at you, that you will achieve your goals. Let me tell you, there are going to be major setbacks and disappointments on the way to achieving your goal, but that's part of the journey. We don't get to wear these pins, these diamond pins, because it's been easy. It's a privilege to wear a diamond pin because we know we've helped a lot of people. There's been blood, sweat, and tears behind that pin, but also a commitment that we will not quit. You must develop an attitude that you will never give up. It's the only way to stay focused. You must command your own self-discipline. This will give you a strength of character that becomes attractive to other people, interestingly. Because I promise you one thing now, when you stand tall, when you put your shoulders back, when you have a big smile on your face, when you have a deep down belief in forever, that is when other people will come and join you. Because they see and feel the energy, the strength, the power, the conviction, the fact that you are a believer, and they start believing in you. But if you're apologetic, you're not consistent. One minute you're on a high with forever, and the next day you're moaning about it, they will not follow you. So ultimately, it's all on our shoulders. We either can or we can't. We either do or we don't. It's entirely up to us. So consider this. Where do you want to be at the end of next year? What kind of income do you want? Do you want to be part of the global travel? Do you want to be a manager? Do you want to be an eagle? Do you want to be forever to drive, chairman's bonus, GLT? What do you want? So many people struggle with setting goals. And very often they struggle because of their limiting thoughts or because of what's happened in the past. And if you are one of those people that struggles with setting a goal, and you don't know where to focus because it's all just a little bit overwhelming, I want you to start with one word. And that one word is happiness. What does happiness mean to you? And once you know what you want, what's going to make you happy, then you need to start the journey. And happiness is different things for every single person. But I can promise you, whatever happiness is to you, there is a position, there is a structure in forever that will help you to achieve that goal. So think big. Don't limit yourself based on the past. Step into your own brilliance. It's time to say, I can, I will. Failure is not an option. It's all there to be had. Take a bet on you for once. Believe in yourself. And make your life a masterpiece. Imagine there are no limits on what you can achieve, because there are no limits. If you can think it, if it's important to you, if you can make a plan and you can go to work and let go of the outcome, then I promise you, your masterpiece is about to unfold before your very eyes. I want to wish you all an incredible Christmas with your family and loved ones. I know for some of you in the room, maybe if finances are a bit tight, maybe Christmas may not be as special as you want it to be, but I promise you one thing, that if you embrace all you've been taught today, next year will be very different. And the reason I say that is because the first year I joined Forever, I didn't have any money. But you know something? It was joining Forever that made us have the best Christmas ever the second year running. And it wasn't materialistic. It wasn't all about the presents and the gifts and the brands. It was about having the family round and having time together and just being happy. So your life is a masterpiece. Paint bold. Don't hold back. And together, we will create a bigger masterpiece in the UK. I wish you great success, great Christmas, and let's make 2019 the best ever. Thank you very much.